UK COVID status certification controversy. In more rights acquisition news, $1 billion seems to be the magic number. IK Multimedia is giving away some free plugins. Ultra Music Festival sued again. An NFT April Fool's joke that wasn't too far off. And our new segment is going to be updates from the Clubhouse Clone Wars, Record Store Day official drop list. And yes, science has proved you can judge people by their taste in music. And what is a day without your daily Spotify update? We have a lot to talk about, but first, let's turn to my co-host Eli Window. Eli, how are you?
I'm doing great today, Peter. How are you today? It's a beautiful day.
Man, yeah, I know. And there was so much in the news today. I think it makes up for like the from like Easter and the holiday weekend that was like slow news day Monday, a little slow on Tuesday, and then all of a sudden it's like there's like, we try to do this Spotify, like your daily Spotify update because there's always something new. There was like three new things. And I was like, we have to pick one or two or three. Maybe we'll go with all of them. But
The Spotify spot.
exactly. So, all right. Well, I want to welcome everybody to the Music News Power Hour here on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing, and we just heard the amazing Eli Window. Wow.
Excellent.
That,
Welcome, everybody.
yeah.
We're going to go ahead and get started today with some headlines. Over to Peter for some headlines. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Something just got caught in my throat there. I tried to hit the mute button, but got the cough in. So this is how it works is we scour the World Wide Web for music business news that we find important, and maybe you do too. We're going to begin very shortly. I also want to welcome everybody tuning in on our video live streams. Feel free to say hi and jump in the comments with any questions or in the chat. So how this works is we read a few key sections of articles for the first like 20, 30 minutes, open the stage for continued discussion for the remainder of the hour. Feel free to raise your hand during the topic if you'd like to come on stage to offer your thoughts. And please note this is being live streamed, so just if you're not comfortable with that, please do not raise your hand and speak. If you enjoy this, want to tune in all the other programming and network events, tap the greenhouse to follow our Clubhouse group, or you can register for free at musicindustrycity.com to get the weekly schedule and updates. And to access our show notes and articles during the program, we put all of the links to all the articles in a Google Doc, and that you can find at musicindustrycity.com. Click the Clubhouse Info Center graphic right at the top there. Scroll to the bottom, you'll find the show notes document embedded into it. So, and now let's get into it. Eli, how's this day in
All
history looking?
right. This day in history is looking, wow, pretty impressive. Let's go ahead and get into it. Today, we are going to remember this day in 1985. American songwriter J. Fred Coots died, age 87. He co-wrote Santa Claus is Coming to Town and the Pat Boone U.S. #1 hit Love Letters in the Sand. He wrote over 700 songs in his career. Also today, we remember this day in 2010 when Malcolm McLaren, former manager of the Sex Pistols, the New York Dolls, and Bow Wow Wow, died from cancer, age 64. And while this is not necessarily on this day, we would like to honor keyboard player Ralph Chuquette, best known as member of Todd Redwood's Utopia, as well as an in-demand session player and producer, and later composer for Pokemon and other animated projects. He died this past Sunday at 73. No cause of death was immediately given, although he was known to have been ill. Variety released an article just yesterday honoring him, which you can actually find the link in the show notes for today to learn more. Let's move on. Birthdays today. On this day in 1947, Steve Howe, guitarist for Yes and Asia, also been a member of the Syndicates and Podcast Tomorrow and GTR, released over a dozen solo albums, born on this day in 1947. Also born today in 1962, American guitarist, singer, and songwriter Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses. Born on this day in 1963, Julian Lennon, first son of Beatle John Lennon and the only child of Lennon's first wife, Cynthia Lennon. Happy birthday today from 1989 to Matthew Healy, lead vocals, guitar, and keyboards with the English indie rock band The 1975. Their second album released in 2016, I Like It When You Sleep, for You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It, went to #1 on both the UK and the US album charts. That's setting the record for the longest title of a Billboard #1 album with 71 characters, by the way. Moving on, looking at this day in history, April 8th, 1994. Electrician Gary Smith, who was working at Kurt Cobain's house in Seattle, discovered Cobain's body lying on the floor in the greenhouse. Local radio station KXRX broke the news at 9:40 a.m. that the Nirvana singer and guitarist was dead. A shotgun was found next to Cobain's body. A suicide note was found that said, "I haven't felt the excitement of listening to as well as creating music, along with really writing, for too many years now." A high concentration of heroin and traces of Valium were also found in Cobain's body. On this day in 2012, it was reported that organizers for the 2012 London Olympics ceremony had recently asked the manager of The Who if legendary drummer Keith Moon would be able to perform at the forthcoming London Olympic Games. The Who manager, Bill Kershabley, told The Times how he had responded to the request. "I emailed back saying Keith now resides in Golders Green Crematorium, having lived up to The Who's anthemic line, 'I hope I die before I get old.' He said, if they have a round table, some glasses and candles, we might contact him." And that's it for this day in history. Over to you, Peter.
I love that. We had to make sure we added that one about the Who and Keith Moon. It's like,
I love it.
how do you not know that one?
Let's get some candles and ask some questions, shall we?
Break out that Ouija board. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. All right, let's get into the news. All right, your daily dose of Spotify updates. And again, if there's something you want to chime in about, feel free to raise your hand, and Eli will bring you on up. And again, if we don't see you, we're probably reading something, so just raise your hand. We're also, we randomly invite people up to the stage. So, but again, if we don't invite you, that's probably because we're reading something and didn't see you. Just raise your hand, and we'll come on up and join the conversation. All right, this is in musictech.net. This one, Spotify launches mixes using machine learning to personalize playlists. And this article begins, it draws data from the 500 billion actions that happen every day on the live streaming platform. Spotify has launched mixes, which are personalized playlists that have been curated with machine learning to recommend users new music based on their listening history. The feature launched the other day on April 5th and can be found under search in its platform Made for You Hub. The playlists arrive in three forms: artist mix, genre mix, and decade mix. Each begins with songs that the user had already liked, then recommends unheard tunes. According to a statement, Spotify mixes were inspired by one of its most popular playlists, Daily Mix. However, these new playlists are deeply personalized to an individual listener's taste with the aid of a machine learning. Gustav Soderstrom, Spotify's chief R&D officer, elaborated on mixes during the brand's Stream On event in February. Quote, there isn't just one Spotify experience. There are actually more like 345 million different Spotify experiences, one for each listener. He said, every day, 500 billion events, whether they are searches, listens, and likes, take place on Spotify, powering and guiding our machine learning system. This gives us the ability to drive discovery in a way that audio has never seen before. And if you're interested in learning more, check it out in the latest installment on their Spotify, A Product Story, a podcast series about the streaming giant's product strategy. So, that's kind of like, I feel, a Star Wars reference there. Rogue One, a love story or something. Spotify, A Product Story.
Once upon a time on a platform far, far away.
Yeah. So, but which side is Spotify? Some people are going to say, well, Spotify's on the dark side.
I think that we're going to have to wait and see whether Spotify speaks with a British accent, because isn't that how they cast the movies? I haven't really watched them. Is that how they cast the movies, so that you knew whose side everybody was on?
It's all with the theme, I think. It's all, you have to have John Williams score it. Well, we can't have John Williams score it, but it would have to be scored like John Williams.
Let's wait and see how Spotify speaks when it does its lines.
Fantastic. All right, so let's move on to the Clubhouse competitor. The Clone Wars. Let's keep the Star Wars references going. So the Clubhouse Clone Wars, Facebook, and this is in TechCrunch. Again, all these articles that we are covering are in the show notes, musicindustrycity.com. Click on that. The little panel there that says Clubhouse Info Center. Scroll all the way down and you will see it there. It's embedded, so you'll see an embed frame, so you might have to just scroll. All right, so this one says Facebook tests hotline. a Q&A product that's a mashup of Clubhouse and Instagram Live. So they're taking it one step further. So the article starts off, Facebook's internal R&D group, NPE team, has today launched the latest experiment, Hotline, into public beta testing. The web-based application could be described as a mashup of Instagram Live and Clubhouse, as it allows creators to speak to an audience who can then ask questions through either text or audio. However, unlike Clubhouse, creators can opt to turn their cameras on for the event instead of being audio only. Real estate investor Nick Huber was the first to publicly try out the product with the live stream, and he represents the first sort of creators that Facebook wants to work with for Hotline. Facebook told TechCrunch, which is someone who helps people expand their professional skills or their finances. In Huber's case, he's talking about investing in industrial real estate as a second income stream. So Facebook is open by saying this is the type of people we are rolling it out to. All right, so and continues, at Facebook, Hotline is being led by Eric Hazard, who joined Facebook when it acquired his app, TBH. So it's kind of rolling everything in there. The app is now taking new inspiration from a company's social network, Clubhouse, which I see you all there. In fact, Hotline's user interface will look familiar to anyone who's already used Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, or any of the other audio-only social networks when it's viewed on mobile. On top of mobile or to the left side of the desktop, there's a speaker section where the event host is featured in a round profile icon or live video stream. And then below or the side desktop are the event listeners. There's a few differences, though. The app today has users sign in with Twitter. Okay, then the listener section, for example, is divided up between those who are just watching the event, representative profile icons, and those who are asking questions. At present, users can type in their questions or join the host on stage when it's their turn. Currently, guests are represented by the profile icon and audio only when on stage. So they have there's different ways of viewing, so you'll be able to tell. One notable difference is that the Hotline events are recorded. So they go on to say that Clubhouse favors more casual chats where people understand there's no transcript or recording take place unless indicated by the host in the room. Title like such as this. It has that red little dot and says live stream or record. This Clubhouse believes allows participants to speak more freely with less fear, but Hotline automatically produces recordings. After the event, the host will receive two recordings of the session. One as an MP3 and another as an MP4. The creator can then upload these to other networks like YouTube or Facebook, edit them into short-form content for apps like TikTok, or turn the audio recording into a podcast or anything else. So it does go on to this again. This is the in the show notes. It's from TechCrunch, and we're going to move over to really quickly before if anybody wants to raise their hand and talk about this, join up on the stage. This is from bbomb.com, and it's just a little how-to guide. It's how to create, join, and use Twitter Spaces. So I just wanted to bring this up because we were talking about like how Facebook's Hotline is going to operate. So this one they talk about last December, Twitter released its live audio rooms features Spaces in private beta for iOS users. The company has since expanded the testing to some Android users. If you're wondering what Twitter Spaces is all about or are curious to know, then you should use the feature. You've come to the right place. All right, so basically what is Twitter Spaces? It's a Clubhouse-like feature that lets you create or join live audio rooms on the platform. Since the feature is integrated into Twitter, creators don't have to go through the hassle of building a new audience or following to engage with their Twitter followers. It's currently testing Spaces on Android and iOS, hence the feature, especially the ability to create a space, is not widely available yet. The company also plans to bring Twitter Spaces to the web version in the foreseeable future. So there's a difference here. Twitter Spaces are public by default for now. As a result, any microphone and only allow others to join as listeners or keep the option open for them to decide. Although accounts with protected tweets can't hold a space, they can join spaces hosted by others. You can't access a space session once it ends. However, Twitter will retain copies of audio and captions for 30 days. So according to Twitter, a total of 11 people, including the host, can speak simultaneously in a space. Moreover, there is no limit of the number of listeners. You can have hundreds of thousands of your followers join at the same time, and your followers will see an active space session at the top of the timeline and fleet section. Has anybody been given access to Spaces by any chance? I did just get a beta. I did get in for the beta invite for the Fireside app, and that is a really different interface. And they have playback recordings in their interface, which is kind of like a podcast. So, has anybody seen some things? Anybody, have questions? Want to talk about what's going on with the Clubhouse clones?
Other day is fire.
What was that, Mike?
Like I mentioned the other day was Fireside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see these new ones, and but I'm also curious.
Oh, I think we got a little bad Wi-Fi connection there, Mike. We'll come back to this one. All right. If you remember last week, April 1st, April Fool's Day, I read an article. I wrote an article for a little fun that was saying Apple was purchased OpenSea, and you were going to be able to mint directly NFTs directly from your Apple your mobile device, and it will go into your Apple wallet, and it will show proof of ownership of, like, some ridiculous things. And apparently it really kind of wasn't that far off of an April Fool's joke. This is in decrypt.co. Again, the link is in the show notes at musicindustrycity.com. Title is Ex-Apple Exec Launches App to Mint Free NFTs. In brief, Sing allows creatives to mint NFTs on a mobile phone for free. The app aims to enable anyone to easily prove ownership of an idea. The new app that allows anyone to easily mint a free NFT on a mobile phone and register ownership on a blockchain was launched this week, dispelling any remaining doubt that non-fungible tokens have gone mainstream. Sing created, that's Sing with an exclamation point instead of an I, created by former Apple executive Jeff Olzer, is targeted at artists, musicians, and other creatives as a quick and easy way to establish that an artwork, song lyric, or other intellectual property is associated with them and the date on which it was created. Registering the U.S. copyright for creative work that can take weeks or months and doesn't chime well with the speed at which it's possible to create an ad hoc video clip or a GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it, that goes viral within hours. But an NFT can be minted within seconds and provides the reassurance of cryptographic proof of ownership with permanent blockchain archival storage, according to Sing. Quote, the entire ethos of Sing is enabling creatives to take control of the IP that they're creating. To push mainstream proves that this is something that was long overdue. Corey Hershu, the startup's director of communications, Bill Decrypt. So this is developed, it goes on, it's developed with the artist in mind. The app strives to be an easy to use as possible and was developed with musicians, including DJ Newmark, Rasta Root, and the lead singer of the Canadian rock outfit Our Lady Peace. And something like a hip hop track may be created on multiple platforms with around a dozen people participating in it, he told Fast Company. Quote, we're literally living through the problems of not having some sort of simple copyright mechanism, and this is becoming much more of a concern with the way creators are now. So the CEO went on to say, says plenty of experience in licensing. He's as co-founder and sustainable tech startup ClearSign. He was responsible for establishing patent protection. Prior to that, he worked in software product licensing at Apple and Adobe. So currently, the startup is partnered with OpenSea, NFT marketplace, so its users can sell their creations, but it's planning to launch its own. It goes on to talk about, normally it would cost $200 to mint an NFT, but for on Sing, it's free. They use a full node of Ethereum as a side chain to do the heavy lifting of minting and mining NFTs, so the users do not have to bear the cost of creating them on a public chain. We drop the NFTs into the user's wallet, which is the same address as our side chain as the public chain. We always create an anchor transaction of the public chain with the side chain hash as proof, he further explained. So this goes back to the wallet thing, your Apple wallet. It goes on, and it gets a little more technical, and of course they have to reference Blau, who has sold a music album in the form of 33 NFTs for $11 million. So of course that sexy number, you hear the $62 million, you hear $2.6 million, you hear $11 million, and everybody wants to get into it. We've had plenty of NFT conversations going on, but I swear I look at this, I read this and I started laughing because I'm like, my April Fool's joke was not that far off.
That's the crazy thing, is that it was a joke just on April 1st, and now it's not so much of a joke at all.
Has anybody here actually done anything with an NFT yet, or just listened in on spot in Clubhouse rooms on NFTs?
The company I'm working with is doing some research. I mentioned to you before, Peter, about how it can work for legacy artists, but so far the legal rigmarole has turned everybody off because as it's not it wouldn't be new things they'd be creating. It's sort of releasing versions of old things. So I think it's a different sort of situation than for a new artist with a new digital image or a new product.
Yeah, and the intellectual property, they say you can with this NFT is what was the actual quote? It said like you can copyright. The app aims to enable anyone to easily prove ownership of an idea. Now, I'm no legal expert. I'm no IP expert or lawyer or anything, but I don't think it's possible to copyright an idea unless it's something like here. I want to here's I built this, and I'm going to register as a copyright trademark, and or it's a trademark squatting. But it's like you just can't say like, oh, I just had this idea and I just want to like now go, oh, I'm going to prove ownership of this idea without intellectual. It's like, is this going to be be a legal mess to say that, hey, just because it's an NFT, does that prove ownership of idea? Is it a copyright infringement now? If I write a piece of music and I put it on an NFT and I just put it in my wallet and I don't put it out there, is that going to prove ownership of my song?
Almost like a modern day poor man's copyright.
Which no longer will stand up in
like
court.
Right, yeah.
Right. It's like a sophisticated timestamp or something.
Hey, Tom, I see you came up to the table. Is there something you want to chime in? Any reactions, thoughts on this topic?
Peter, yeah. Could you say the name of the app again you were just describing, please?
It's called Sing, and that is exclamation point NG. So the I is an exclamation point.
Thank you.
I can imagine getting this getting very out of hand, whereby people are just sort of putting all the stuff that musicians normally put in their Apple Notes of fragments of songs and various little ideas, and just putting them into the app just for the sake of having a thing somewhere that's provable that they can eventually claim on later. That could be absolute madness. What if, for example, a group of creators are hanging out together and they come up with a funny catchphrase and then they all go home and put it in their NFT wallet? You know what I mean?
Here's
Split
one.
sheets on Hangouts.
Here's one to really throw into the cogs. I record a piece of, I record a guitar piece or something. You're just like, hey, I'm noodling around. I'm like, hey, here's a good solo. But there happened to be a car driving by, and they had the windows down, and they were blasting, a Taylor Swift song. But I claimed this because I'm like, oh, I want to make sure that nobody steals my guitar piece. And I claim it. I make it an NFT. I put this out, and somebody, I go say, hey, listen, that guitar piece, that melody there, that lead, I already have that. Here's the NFT, and you play this for them, and they're like, yeah, but you see what's in the background there? You're claiming ownership of a Taylor Swift song because you don't have an ephemeral license for that car driving by with the windows open.
It depends. Was it released before Scooter bought the catalog or after?
Well, the reason I mentioned that is because this has actually happened on Twitch. Somebody got banned on Twitch from the live stream when DMC with the DMCA takedowns when it was Twitch's Day of Reckoning. That somebody was on the streets and there was a song that was played as a car drove by, and they got banned off of Twitch because of the DMCA strike. So these are little things that that really have an impact, and we have to pay attention to. So, moving on, just really quick, and we can go back to this one at any point. There's a lot of articles in the news today, and again, anybody can raise their hand and come up to the stage. The magic number seems lately to be $1 billion, and this article here is from Music Week, and it says CTM Outlander Music launches with $1 billion plan for rights acquisitions, hologram performances, and you guessed it, NFTs. CTM Outlander Music has an ambitions to invest $1 billion over the next 5 years. It also plans to capitalize on Outlander's intellectual property expertise and knowledge to gather the rights necessary for holographic performances and the issuance of non-fungible tokens. The new partnership has closed on their first catalog with the acquisition of 10 Music Group's publishing assets established by Ola Hackinson. The portfolio consists of more than 1,000 songs, including global hits by Rihanna, Shakira, Panic at the Disco, and Zara Larson's worldwide hit Lush Life, which has been streamed over 950 million times on Spotify alone. The move by CTM and Outlander Fund comes amid a booming market in music rights, including big plans from BMG and KKR to buy major catalogs, which we discussed yesterday. And you can still find that article in the show notes at musicindustrycity.com. Click on the panel that says Clubhouse Info Center. Scroll all the way down, and you can see all the article links. They said, we are thrilled about the relationship with Outlander and its principals, proven investment savvy. Andre DeRaff, the CEO of CTM, said. It goes on. I mean, it's one of the things they said, Les Ware, managing principal of Outlander, said, we have carefully studied the music IP market for some time now. We have been managing intellectual property for the past 30 years and believe that the time has come to bring our expertise to bear on the music tech industry. Here an additional quote is, technology is changing the music market very rapidly, and we have the deep expertise necessary to navigate and profit from these changes. The 10 acquisitions fits our strategic goals and serves as a robust foundation for our fund's music acquisitions. In cooperation with Andre, we trust that this is the first of many, many purchases. I mean, yesterday when we reported about BMG and KKR, that was last week, their second marriage, and they were talking $1 billion, and with KKR having $230 billion of assets under management, they pretty much said that is an open checkbook. So $1 billion is the starting point. Is that where we're at right now with catalogs, acquisitions? Are we going to start seeing this consolidation of the music industry, and what is a major label at this point? What is a major public, is BMG, KK, are they a major again? Like, how does this all play out when it comes to the, also part of it is like independents versus majors, like market share. Like, this is a consolidation going on. So any thoughts on this one? It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of zeros. With that being said, we're going to move over to, this is from thevinylfactory.com, and it's many of our favorite day of the year, but this year it is many days of the year, and it's released the official list of Record Store Day 2021 releases. All right, with 538 exclusive records, Record Store Day has released the official list of UK releases for its 2021 edition. All right, so taking place over the course of 2 days, Saturday 12th of June and Saturday July 17th, with exclusive records being released each month. 2021 will mark Record Store Day's 14th year running. Over 250 record stores will participate in Record Store Day 2021. Highlights from the 538 records include a whole list that I'm not going to get into. Check out the link in the show notes there. In 2020, Record Store Day was held across a series of drop days following restrictions due to the coronavirus pandemic around the world. Despite this change, Record Store Day continued to help fuel the global rise in vinyl growth, with both UK and US vinyl sales reaching record highs in 2020. So, it has a list of everyone. I mean, there's some great stuff. There's AC/DC, Al Green, Amy Winehouse, Animal Collective, I'm just on the A's. So does anybody have any looking forward to a Record Store Day? Any tips, or not tips, but anything you're particularly looking forward to?
Oh, it's like Christmas. I'm so excited.
Right on, exactly. For the music producers out there,
I'm going to be buying. Sorry, Peter.
Oh, go on.
I'm going to be buying at my local record store, which is literally about.
Oh, we just lost you. We just lost Angela.
Oh no, do we have a bad connection?
Angela, if you switch to
All right, we're gonna get back to Angela in just a moment. Let's let the audio reset for a moment and the Wi-Fi reset, and I'll read the next article, and then we can get back, and Angela can jump back in. We still have a few more articles, and we also open it up. Anybody wants to come on stage, talk about it, like just raise your hand, or Eli, you can bring some people on up. Yep. And IK, this is in Guitar World. This is for the producers and engineers out there. IK Multimedia is giving away its Amplitude Mesa Boogie triple rectifier model for free. It's given away, which serves as, quote, the standard for modern high-gain heavy guitar tones. Free until May 2nd. A faithful recreation, not recreation. Recreation is what we want to do for fun, and that's by playing guitar as recreation. But this is a recreation of the iconic Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. The software boasts the same triple-channel configuration as its namesake, with each channel sporting presence, master, volume, and gain controls, as well as a 3-brand EQ. They say the claim the users need to install the free Amplitude Custom Shop, which contains 39 other amps, pedals, cables, mics, all that stuff. So yeah, if you're you're looking for a new free plugin, head on over to IK Multimedia. And IK Multimedia is also, you might have heard, the iRig. So they've been doing a lot of great things.
My head is exploding. That's just as exciting as Record Store Day for me. I'm gonna fall into a black hole for a whole weekend over that.
I know, it's just like, keep going, just give me more toys to play with. All right.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Peter, and I'm wondering if anybody has an opinion on this. Do you think that there's going to be a lot of overlap with NFTs and streaming, or do you think that the scarcity of it will keep a wall between those two worlds?
Well, it's going to be two separate items in a sense that NFTs, and it's like you can have an NFT, and you can also say, if I release a song, I can release it as an NFT, fine, and that's great, and I can say you can claim ownership of 50 of this song. So I'm going to say 50 people can own this song, claim ownership of the song, but I can still put it up to DistroKid and put it out to Spotify, Apple, and everything, because I'm selling it. It's not really even like you're selling. It's kind of like, here's something I created. You can claim ownership of it, but I still have it. I'm not giving it to you for it's like you to own forever or anything like that. I still have it. I'm the creator. I can still put this out. And that's one of the things, is like, well, why do people want to own something that they can get anywhere? It's the same thing as like owning the CryptoKitty. It's like somebody can take a screenshot of it and put it on the internet, and somebody can put that on their phone and say, hey, I have a copy of the image of the CryptoKitty, but somebody actually can claim ownership of the CryptoKitty, but it doesn't matter. It's just the artwork.
And in terms of the very low pricing per stream, does anybody know of any streaming, let me see, at blockchain streaming platforms that have gotten any momentum?
Tom, it sounds like maybe you should join my live streaming and live concerts frenemies rooms here on Clubhouse every Tuesday at 11 Eastern, because this sounds like something that we discuss in that room. Would you join us on Tuesday at 11 Eastern in my live streaming live concerts frenemies room, and let's talk about it?
Sure. Thanks for the invite.
I love it.
Yeah, there's the platforms like Trovo, D Live, which are have blockchain built in, and they're with tokens. That's for live streaming for video side. There are, and I can't remember offhand, there are other music streaming platforms that are built on a blockchain, and we've seen in the last few years, maybe like 5 or 6 years, we've seen some attempts to do that. I know there is one out there, and I cannot for the life of me, it's not even on the tip of my tongue, I can't remember what it is, but there is one out there that is for I want to say, I can't remember what it is. I'm trying to figure it out, but they do have, it's all based on the blockchain. NFTs also, there is something about NFTs to be said. They're like trying to, so incorporating it as for splits. So that is helping. And therefore, when you actually create the track, you can automatically identify through the NFT, the splits, things like that. Is that going to, but that still has to go through the distributor, but is it going to bypass a distribution platform at some point and allow for streaming services like Spotify attempted a couple years ago? They had an artist direct upload, so they didn't have to go to a distribution platform. You could directly go, and they tested it out, but they went away after, I think it was probably around the time that Spotify invested into DistroKid.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we are going to have just a few more articles here. Let's talk about, where are we here? I just got myself lost here. We're going to talk about Ultra Music Festival. And this is an CompleteMusicUpdate.com. Ultra Music Festival sued again over postponement claims and refund policies. And we were talking a little about this in the morning show, not the specific article, but the policies of these festivals that keep on saying we're not going to refund because we're going to postpone. All right, so the article starts off. The promoter of the flagship edition of the Ultra Music Festival in Miami is facing another lawsuit over its refund policies in relation to the events it has canceled as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Ultra is one of the first major festivals to cancel as the COVID-19 pandemic gained momentum in early 2020. The event's promoters subsequently criticized and then sued over the official line that the 2020 festival was actually being postponed into 2021. This position meant that cash refunds were not being offered to ticket holders who instead could opt to transfer their tickets to either the 2021 or 2022 editions of the event. Of course, as it turns out, the 2021 edition wasn't able to go ahead either, meaning ticket holders are now being offered the option to transfer their tickets to either the 2022 or 2023 editions. The latest lawsuit takes issue with Ultra's claim that it postponed rather than canceled the 2020 edition. That's those key words there. And its resulting refusal to offer cash refunds. The new legal filing also notes that Promoter Event Entertainment Group is itself suing a production company in a bid to reclaim monies that it already had paid for equipment hire and service relating to the 2020 festival on the basis that the festival was canceled. Elsewhere in the new lawsuit, lawyers criticized terms that ticket holders were obliged to sign up when transferring their tickets to future events. There it says were, quote, radically different from the already illusory ones attached to the original ticket purchase, and among other things, required the ticket holders to release any and all legal claims against Ultra, waive their rights to initiate credit card chargebacks, and agree to pay significant costs in the event of any arbitration, friends, in violation of American Arbitration Association's consumer arbitration rules. The new lawsuit, which names Ultra ticket holders as a plaintiffs but seeks class action status, also names the city of Miami as a defendant, and lawyer Mark Scoven told the Miami Herald, quote, "It is totally unconscionable for the promoters to withhold refunds for 2+ years and for the city of Miami to allow it with no guarantees that this event will be able to take place in 2022 or 2023. Interesting stuff there with what the key thing inside that article and what they were talking about is that Ultra is trying to get their money back from the vendors claiming it was canceled, but they're saying to the public and their ticket buyers that it wasn't canceled, therefore they don't have to issue a refund. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, this is just, it's heavy and it's a lot to unpack. You know, the verbiage and the language is really critical and important. The difference between postponed and canceled is a really fine line. And I think that right now in COVID times, we're all kind of learning to do a new dance. We're all kind of reinventing ourselves and what it means to understand this language. So I think the difference between postponed and canceled is huge. But I just want to ask everybody on the stage, if you were a ticket holder for this event, how would you feel? I'm not sure how I would feel holding my tickets for 2+ years. How would you feel?
I think the confused language would make me feel scammed. But that's just a first. I think you're right about the nuances of the language being so critical here.
Well, moving into still with the live music, and I think, Angela, you might have some additional thoughts on this one. This is from Polestar, and the article headline is COVID status certificates as entry requirements hotly debated in the UK. And this was from really came out across the wire this morning. The UK government just announced a series of pilot events across the country. The fact that COVID station certification is to be trialed as part of the pilot program is cause for a lot of debate. UK bodies representing nighttime and hospitality businesses have criticized the hints from government that COVID status certification may be required in its plans for reopening the nighttime economies. So the trade bodies goes through a quote, burdened with the vaccine passports, overcomplicated test and trace rules, and an inability not able to take payments indoors as reopening. This represented, quote, a triple whammy for hard-pressed publicans who have been forcibly closed for months, a statement said from the later three bodies. Professionals working in nighttime businesses feel like they're being unfairly treated, seeing that indoor retail, for instance, is allowed to open far earlier and with hardly any restrictions in place. Nighttime businesses that have been working on ways of making their venues COVID secure, enforcing distant mandates, and collecting customer data for test and trace purposes throughout all of last year are now faced with the, quote, introduction of another barrier for them to trade freely, which will have major impact on their profitability, according to their statement. This does go on into deeper points there. The government's review of the COVID status certification, led by MP Michael Gove, looks likely to recommend that pubs and other hospitality venues must demand immunity proof from people to allow them to enter, with the threat of fines for venues if not compliant. This could prevent millions of young people visiting the pubs for months unless they get themselves tested in advance, according to the trade body's joint statement. It goes on. We have some, people from pub owners and everything, and it's really, it is unfair to say, like, hey, you can walk into a store, you can go shopping, and you can be in close proximity, but you can't go into a pub and sit, a few feet away from each other. Thoughts on this, Angela? Is there anything that you've heard as well over there?
Yeah, Michael Gove's taking a lot of flack for this because as of yet, all of the prime minister's updates here have not included any specific rollout for what these vaccine passports or certifications, they want to call them, will look like. And I think they're trying to use a common sense approach. I think they're trying to start with sort of small venues and small pubs and things like that to get some sort of data sets, because they're they all of our briefings are based in previous data. We've tried this in these few locations, and this is what the data suggests. And if we scale that up, we can make decisions based on blank. That's basically how all of the government decisions are made here with regard to COVID going forward for rolling out opening. But so I think that's really what the genesis for this is. But of course, the pub owners and the organizations that represent them are sort of saying, well, they're kind of targeting us in an unfair way, like you said, but they're becoming the guinea pigs for what I suspect is much larger gatherings and much larger type of situations. And rather than take the risk with those, they're, forcing the pubs to sort of be the test figures with this without actually getting their consent or having them or using them in a way that where they're having a dialogue about it. It's just, here's what we'll allow you to do. You should do it, and you can make money. And as long as you're compliant, it just seems like it's not being handled very well, which is why obviously they're getting upset about it. But the other thing is that from the public's perspective, the UK is not unlike the US in the sense that some people are compliant and some people just aren't. And unfortunately, the scale seems to be tipped towards the ones who aren't being compliant are the ones who are first in line to get into the pubs to be close and drink because they don't see any problem with COVID and maybe are deniers or whatever, or anti-maskers. And for everyone else, whether vaccinated or not, if half of the people in the pub are going to be compliant and the other half aren't, then it's up to the pub to deal with the rowdiest, most defiant people and insist they either wear their mask or or get their vaccine card updated or whatever, or get out. And that's going to really affect the way it all sort of pans out here. Pubs are such an ingrained part of our culture here that it's not just like the bar, it's the place where families gather, the place where people go, the community comes together. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see how it pans out.
Thank you for that great update. And like I said, and cutting out, let's cut away over to our UK correspondent here, Angela. We were just talking about that earlier. We should have you come in every day. It's like, hey, I got an update from the UK.
I'm in whenever I'm free. You might get a 6-year-old in the background, but why not? Here he is now.
Well, there you go. And now we were just introduced to him. All right, we got one more.
That's your field reporter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, on location from the local
From the local pub, yes. All right, we're down to the final article of the day.
Oh, wow. Final article. Just real quick before you do that, let me take just a moment. I'm going to reset the room. I want to say thank you to everybody who is tuning in and listening today, and a special thank you to everyone who has joined us on the stage and for this conversation that we've had today. Angela, Mike, Tom, Brian, Matt, thanks for being here and for your contributions to the conversation. We cover these music headlines every day from 12 to 1 Eastern. We are here in the Music News Power Hour room on Clubhouse, and you can also catch us streaming. So thanks so much for joining the conversation. We try to cover all the news that you actually want to hear about and discuss, and we bring a whole new meaning to the phrase hands up. So if there's something that we discuss that you want to join the conversation about, do feel free to put your hand up. Maybe we haven't seen you yet. Maybe we think you're working behind your muted microphone and we don't want to bother you. So if you're down in the audience and you want to jump up on stage, please feel free to put your hand up so that you can join the conversation today. You can also join us every Friday for the week in review, where if there's something that we didn't get to discuss during the week, but you want to bring it up, join us on Friday for the Music News Power Hour, where we're going to recap the week and take a look at, oh my gosh, this was a colossal week, Peter. This was incredible for news. It started off slowly and then it exploded.
I think we have like 50 articles that we covered. Thank you. I thank you for that break there, because I had to take a drink of water because my throat is killing me between the morning show, but then just reading. We had like 10 articles from today, so a lot to cover. We do have a fun one though for you. We're gonna close up with a nice fun one, and it's something that we could say like, yeah, I knew this all along. And we've had the memes. We've we've looked at, your dating profiles. It's like, all right, let's talk about music. What do you listen to? Because I'm going to judge you. Well, now, according to an article in Brooklyn Vegan, science now says you can judge people by their taste in their music after all. And, all that time you spent judging people by their music taste. Well, according to a new article on The Hill, that's just science. And who are we to argue it's science? So it writes, multiple psychological studies have supported the idea that musical preferences are actually linked to our cognitive styles, or the way we think about and react to the world around us. One study shows a link between preferred musical genres and our capacity for empathy, with results across samples showing that empathy levels are linked to preferences even within genres. Empathy, as the authors of the study explains, is, quote, the ability to identify, predict, and respond appropriately to the mental state of others. And people use empathy while perceiving different types of musical content, reacting to it both emotionally and physiologically. The researchers found that those they categorize as type E, or those with a bias towards empathizing, preferred mellow music that might fall within the genres of R&B and soft rock, while those that prefer, quote, intense dimension genres such as heavy metal and hard rock tend to show a bias towards systemizing or logic-based thinking rather than showing empathy. The same study also found an interesting link between type E individuals and music with attributes researchers define as, quote, gentle, warm, and sensual, as well as depressing, sad music and songs with emotional depth. See? Science. And that's it for the headlines of the day. Yeah,
wow.
Who here is a type E? or who here likes the intense dimension genres?
Nobody's going to cop to anything in this room, it looks like.
If I'm driving, I like the intense music.
Intense Dimension?
Yeah.
Intense Dimension sounds like a band name.
Yeah. Well, that's like the second band name we came up with for today. We Could Be Huge is the first band name we came up with earlier. So the intense, quote,
opening
intense.
for them, Intense Dimension.
Yeah, which is a heavy metal band.
Yeah, the intense dimensionalists. It's your self ID. It's even in there. I like that a lot. But these studies, it's so funny. It's like it's like reading about studies where they find out that, like, after $100 million, Harvard has determined that animals have emotions. It's like stuff one knows all along.
I love it. Stuff one knows all along is that if folks like a certain kind of music, you're probably never going to be able to go on a road trip together at the very least.
Yeah, right. Preferences have something to do with something. Yes.
Well, is that like, an argument, like, a couple having an argument and one says, you have no empathy. It's like, yes, I do. It's like, no. See, read this article. You like heavy metal music, therefore you don't have empathy. It's here. It's science. There's a study on this. How do you argue with science?
That's their debut album, Intense Dimension, and their debut album, Stuff One Knows All Along.
That's super fascinating. Peter, with Lecco on stage, I'm wondering if it's okay by you if he has a chance to introduce the Grammy-nominated producer rather, who worked on an album he's about to release.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Is this like something that was in the news today?
Oh, no, it would be a new tidbit of news. So that's up to you. It's your room.
What's the news piece?
Lecco, did you want to introduce We the Nighthawks?
I hope to be a news item for you guys very soon, about a month or so, and I'll be sure circled around. And Tom, thank you for that intro, man. I don't think there's a news piece to talk about just
all right,
yet.
So let's. All right,
Peter wants to say something.
Yeah, we try to cover news in this room, although there are lots of rooms where we would love to hear more about this. But you said it's going to be newsworthy soon, and I hope that you're going to follow Peter and myself and follow the club by smashing the little green Monopoly house at the top there, so that when it's a news item, we can definitely bring it to the stage here, because we definitely want to cover that once it hits the news. That's exciting.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll follow all you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, we do.
I love it.
Yeah, awesome. And because you can hit that green house, the Monopoly house up the top there, and follow the club. We do a Good Day Music World show from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. That is Monday through Friday. That leads into the show. This one is all about the news. That show is What's on Your Mind. And actually tomorrow at 11 a.m., exactly at 11 a.m., we stop the room and we say, all right, who's got some new music to talk about? So we do some shout outs and then we have the conversation. So that room, it's all about shouting yourself in, as we like to say. Here it's all about hands up. I like that, Eli. If you want to talk about the news, hands up if you want to talk about the news. And the other room is shout yourself in. So that's when we all talk about that there. But again, if there's anything in the news you want to talk about, bring that to the table. Anybody in the audience can feel free to raise your hand. Anybody's on stage, if there's something that we missed, feel free to jump in. If there's any topics that, if you wanted to go back to anything about, the Clubhouse clone wars, or, NFTs, or the acquisitions, Record Store Day, Ultra Music Festival being sued again, and the COVID status certificates controversy over in the UK.
And also, I just want to remind everybody that it's been a big week for any Kurt Cobain fans. In memory of Kurt Cobain, there are a lot of feelings stirring this week. So, any memories about Kurt Cobain as well, in addition to the headlines that we covered today. And thank you once again to everybody on the stage for contributing to our Music News Power Hour discussion.
I was just looking
at
Lane
Staley. Don't forget Lane Staley, the unforgettable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was we talked about that this day in history, and we covered like 40 articles this week, so a lot going on. Thank you, Eli, for this day in history and everything else. Were you live from Birdland today?
Week. I was not live from Birdland today like I was yesterday, but you can hear the birds in the background.
So we do have some birds, so we're keeping with the theme. All right. And thank you for everybody that has tuned in over on our live streaming platforms. I just want to say, hey, Buzz, what's up? I saw you out there. He was just saying hi. How you doing, Steve? What's the good word? And I know there's some people over in the other platforms, but I just can't see any quotes or any comments there, but I see you there. Thanks for tuning in. We do this live streaming. We do this on Clubhouse every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, and we are live streaming on the Music Industry City platforms. That is on YouTube. You can check out more at musicindustrycity.com. I think we're going to wrap it up. Is any final thoughts?
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Eli, Angela.
Thanks for being here, Tom, and thanks for being part of our discussion today. And Leko also, and Angela, it's always great to see you. You're our UK correspondent. I love that.
Woohoo! I wish I was British. That would make so much more sense. But there you go.
No, we were talking about Brazil. So the Brazil music market, there's always a global, like an update that's released on the Brazilian music market every year, and it's put together by a person in charge of the music export, or I forgot, he's not in music export there anymore. It's another an initiative organization there, but he heads it up, and his name is David McLaughlin, and yes, that is an Irish name. So as Adam Lewis was in here yesterday when we were talking about the British Music Report, he's like, yeah, and he confuses everybody as soon as he opens it, you hear him open his mouth, and it's an Irish accent reporting on Brazil. So, all right, with that being said, have a great day, everybody, and we're going to take it out.
Thanks, Peter. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow at 12 Eastern for the Music News Power Hour and the weekly Week in Review for Friday.
Happy Rex Manning Day.
Happy Rex Manning Day. Forgot to lead in with that. All right.
Save the best for last.